Hello and welcome to Focus Photography. Today I have a Lomo Lubitel 166. This camera is fresh from a friend in Ukraine and was made to commemorate the 1980 Moscow Olympic Games. So let's learn how this piece of Soviet history works. I would say that the Lubitel is best described as quirky. Most of the controls are centered around the lens mechanism here. So the shutter speed adjustment is on the bottom, but interestingly is written up here at the top, a bit inconvenient. There's only a few options, 1/15th to 1/250th, but at least there is a bulb option. The aperture is on the other side. Once again, it's got a pretty limited range from 4.5 to 16. However, I found that you can actually go past 16 by a decent amount, and the aperture keeps getting smaller, so you could probably draw a line and write 22 on it if you wanted. The shutter is here on the front, nice and easy to reach. There is no mechanism for a cable release as far as I'm aware. And there's also a handy little chart here to tell you the exposure settings depending on if it's sunny or cloudy outside, where the shutter speed adjusts the cloudiness and the aperture is used to compensate for the ISO of the film. And I found that it actually works pretty well. The lenses are held together by these two big gears, and the focusing measurements are written here at the top. It's very odd that the distances, for some reason, appear to be written in the traditional aperture numberings, so I'm not sure why they would do that. So notice 5.6, swings around to 8, 11, and then to infinity. As far as I can tell, these are all in meters. The advance, just big knob on the side. Once again, a bit tricky. Turn it a little bit, it advances enough to actuate the shutter again, but it won't actually advance the film all the way. You have to turn the knob till it sounds like it's done, and then really crank it harder, unlike any German or Japanese camera I've used, but it doesn't break it. That will actually advance the shot counter if there's film in the camera. Finally, viewfinder's under here. Mine's got a kind of a dinky spring, but the camera can only be focused with a little tiny focusing area on the inside here. Good news is there's a handy dandy little magnifying glass to help you out with that. And another neat feature is, I have to just shove it down, there's actually a viewfinder on the back using the area in the front where you can aim the camera and frame the shot by looking directly through the camera instead of down and out. So it just provides another option there. Finally, the camera actually has a hot shoe, which is nice. It's easy to attach a flash. Loading the Lubitel is rather straightforward. So opens up the lever. All of these guys obviously pop out. What I didn't realize at first was that this guy also pops out, and it took quite a bit of force to pop this knob out for me the first time. New roll of film goes up here, and you gotta turn it and push so that it locks on to the new spool. I'll be using some Provia. As with the top, there's two little ears. There's a spring inside there, so just gotta push down and then push the tabs in, and that'll lock the roll in place. And then it's rather straightforward to just pull. Oh, that didn't lock properly. There we go. bit tricky because I can't see what I'm doing. So like pretty much any other medium format camera, you want to crank around until the start arrows line up with these two little white dots on here. This knob requires a considerable amount of force to turn on my camera. So the camera is now sealed up. Shot counter reads 0. But when I start turning this, you can hear the shutter lock, and then the shot counter will move as I keep cranking this around until eventually I should get to shot frame number 1. And there it is. And at this point, the difficulty in turning this knob will go from what was previously kind of sticky, and then to very sticky, and then pretty much to impossible. So I can keep cranking now, but it's really tight, and that signifies that it's on the next shot. So this camera is now loaded and ready to go. Just got to be careful because there is no shutter lock as far as I'm aware.
The Lubitel can take 12 wonderfully square photos, and sometimes they actually turn out right, such as this one taken at f4.5, wide open, and the depth of field was pleasant, and overall the image was pretty sharp. Unfortunately, most of the images didn't turn out as well as this one. I ended up having a few problems. This photo was a challenge to take because there's no cable release, so it's just hard to keep the camera still in low light. This image here had a little bit of vignetting on the top left and right corners. That's really just how the lens is designed. At some point I had the roll of film actually come loose, and it cost me about 2 shots that just disappeared. And here you can see when you zoom in on this image that it's a little bit blurry, and that's a result of just how difficult it is to properly focus this camera. So if you really want to take good photos, buy a Rolleiflex.